Greetings all, Ben here, East West. Just going to take a look here at Bitcoin for the week. Firstly, thanks to everyone who's liked and subscribed to the videos and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, then can you hit the like and subscribe? It gives me a bit of a boost, helps me out. So let's just jump in here and look at Bitcoin for the week, and the trend is still alive. One thing I'm just looking at here is just how this weekly candle might play out, because I think what we've got to be a little bit cautious of here is there's a chance that this could develop into a shooting star. So basically, if we close the week, obviously we've still got a little bit of time to go. If we close the week here below 34 grand, then I would look at this thinking that's a shooting star, and that is a potential weekly reversal. So that to me doesn't mean that it's going to do that. That obviously it's Bitcoin and it can't be ruled out. But I would suggest it probably means that we're going to come down to test some of the areas that we've highlighted previously into this old structure here between sort of 32 and 30. So just as we come in here to the daily, and you probably don't need me to point out that we're just churning a little bit here. We've had a little bit of a poke through, but we're just coming back a little bit. So I would suggest that probably maybe the lack of news, the lack of the ETF news coming through might just be waning a little bit of interest. But the other thing I would think, looking at this now, I'd be looking at this in an Elliott sense, and I'll get into that. But just for the moment, I'm just looking at this and just thinking, okay, well, can I make 5 waves up here? So I think last week I was kind of looking at this, and we're just looking at this trend line, and we can see we just ran into it. And it's just kind of solidified that as an important trend. 1, 2, 3. I'd be a little bit hesitant to say that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just doesn't look like a filled out. It just doesn't look quite right to me. So that would lead me to think, as we sit, as what I can see is that potentially we're putting in a bit more of a 4 before we get a 5 like that and a 2 coming back down. So yeah, I wouldn't, calling that the top of the impulse, I'm a little bit suspect on that. But at the same time, the RSI is warning that we've got divergence creeping in here on the daily, so we are running out of gas for this run. So maybe, yeah, maybe that is our 1 wave, and that we're going to come back down for a deeper 2, like that. But you know, there's a few other ways to look at this, and there is a school of thought out there, and someone did point it out last week in the comments, and I think it's valid. It's certainly something to keep in mind, that maybe we've got 1 coming in here, and that what we're actually getting here is we've got an A wave, an ABC for a B wave, and that we're going to come down here and get a C wave to make a deeper 2. Okay, so that would then lead us to think, okay, well, you know, maybe we're going to come back. Well, actually, no, we shouldn't draw it off that. Maybe that we're going to come back here as low as the sort of mid to low 20s. That's not my primary, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out. I mean, it's Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will do Bitcoin things. So I think you can keep that in mind. But of course, to do this, we're going to have to come back and challenge and pretty much break that. Or maybe we just only get back to here like that. Or maybe this is actually the top of 1 here. I mean, it's not the way I'm looking at it, but I'm not ruling it out. But it's certainly something to keep in mind. So I think that the point here is that, you know, we've got this pretty hot and growing divergence here on the daily, so that, you know, maybe we are in for a deeper retracement. And if we do get something much deeper, then maybe that constitutes a larger 2 wave like that. Yeah, the B wave's gone a fair way if this was going to be correct. So I'm not sure about this. I wouldn't usually think that we're going to get a B wave that far, but you know, Bitcoin and Elliott wave, you can't rule anything out. It's certainly still valid, but it's just not the way I'm looking at it. So, you know, I think like I said, I don't like this as a topping impulse. I'd just like to see the structure fill out a little bit more, then get the internal 2 coming back down. But we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, just that daily there, that's just warning you that we could be out of gas a little bit. But look what happened here. I mean, the RSI really started tailing away, but the market, I mean, look where it peaked out. The RSI peaked out here, and the market went, so what's that? That's 19 grand. The market still went up to 23. So, you know, even though that's a warning shot, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get some sort of big crash. But like I said, if I was just looking at this as a 3 wave and then we get some sort of 4 and then up for 5, that would probably make me feel a little bit better about how the structure looks. That you know, that the overall thing would look a little bit more impulsive than having this all squashed in like this. But you can only deal with what you can see. But right now, that's what I can see. But you know, I don't think there's a lot more to add here, but there's a couple of things that could help Bitcoin over the line to go a bit further. So I'm just looking at the DXY here and just the general state of the US dollar, and obviously, you know, it's had quite a strong drop today as the market starts to look at rate cuts. But just looking at this cyclically, I had my doubt. At first, I thought this was the cycle low. Then I thought, oh, maybe it's here. But now I'm just thinking, no. Because of this move today, I'm now thinking that, you know, this US dollar is headed lower, and that we can expect the next cycle low late November into early December, possibly out to the 25th of December. So this is the median cycle length, and this is one standard deviation either side of that median. So that weakening US dollar, I think, should help Bitcoin, but we've got to remember that this DXY is obviously against a basket of currencies, but it is showing that, you know, that we are slackening off in the US dollar, okay? And then we can see here that the one telltale sign here is that the RSI held 60, which means that we're now coming into a more bearish stance on the US dollar. So that, of course, should help Bitcoin. We're all hoping it does, but that's just something I'm looking at just to make me think that you know, that any sort of pullback in Bitcoin, I don't think it'll be US dollar related if it happens. It's going to have to be something else. I mean, whether or not they do a rug pull with the ETF or something like that, something unforeseen happens, who knows? But certainly this US dollar, the way it's shaping up to me, looks like it would be supportive of Bitcoin price. But even just quickly skipping over here and looking at Boomer Bitcoin, aka gold, just when I'm looking at this cycle in gold, I mean, this looks like the ICL. So we've only got a top here on day 21. So I would think, to me, even though, you know, the medium cycle is about mid-December, I think to me that what I would be expecting for gold would be that it's going to go higher, but that we get some sort of cycle down, and then it's going to continue on like that. So I would think, especially the way the US dollar looks, I would think that that would be the 10-day moving average. So what I'd be looking for is for gold to do, you know, something like this. Actually, that's I probably need to redraw this. Hold with me. I'll try this again. I'd be expecting the gold to do something like this, just in a cyclical sense, where, you know, the 10-day moving average was sort of doing this. So we would come up, make the cycle high, make the cycle low, and continue on to the next cycle. And this would be daily cycle one of the new intermediate cycle. So I think just that in general would also be quite supportive of millennial gold, aka Bitcoin. So that's just how I'm looking at it as it sits right here and now. So yeah, I think that's just where we sit for this week at the moment. I'm not sure that this is a completed impulse, but I think it's pretty close. It could be, but I'm expecting maybe just a little bit more before we might just get a little bit of a retracement and then kick on further. But so I remain bullish. I think everything still looks pretty good to go higher. It's still got a lot of things going for it, but maybe we're just due for a little bit of a pullback. So let's see, especially how this weekly candle closes out, because I just think that looks a little bit suspect. I think it's just got potential to become a shooting star, which would just make me a bit cautious. And then, of course, there is that other potential count that we looked at where, that this whole thing's actually part of wave 2, and that'll come back down. Not my base case, but can't be ruled out. But let's see. So let's just see how this weekly candle closes. So that's it for this week. We'll just see how it develops, and then hopefully next week I'll have a little bit more to tell you. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.